The story begins with the main character hearing someone calling him in a dissatisfied voice and saying that the lady from the Zhao family was already waiting on the doorstep. Tio sat on the sofa and looked ahead. He was dressed in a servant's costume. The old man very displeasedly asked the guy if he had really gone deaf. Jiang looked at his body and noticed that he was wearing a dull suit. An old man named Lingu Xiang stood at the side. He was the CEO of Lingu Company. He demanded that the guy come out and greet the guest. The system informed the owner that he had just been attacked by his own grandfather. The system told the owner that he was now in the world of the novel Mad Marriage on the 35th chapter. Jiang was the antagonist of Lingu Khan. He had 5 chapters left before he went offline. The main goal of the protagonist was to survive. Jiang told himself that for him to survive for 5 chapters would be generous, or even cruel. Jiang swung his hand and hit the guy on the head with all his might. The old man demanded that the guy come to the door and meet Miss Xiao. The guy got up from the sofa and told his grandfather that he understood everything. The girl waved to Mr. Lingu and greeted him. The guy greeted her back. Jiang thought about it. He couldn't remember how much time had passed since he got into the book world. The main character closed his eyes and plunged into memories. He remembered that it all started with a disaster. On a city street, the walls of buildings began to tremble due to a strong earthquake. Due to a powerful earthquake, the walls began to crack and fall down. A huge sign from the wall of the building fell down due to the earthquake. A voice from the system told the guy that he was connected with the Rise of Villains program. From that time, he began to travel through different novels. The guy must play the role of a dying antagonist. After that, he must stay alive. The ultimate goal is to return with enough rewards. There were many successes for Qian, but there were more failures. He met the main character who had cheating abilities. The player laughed and launched a large projectile from his hand at his opponent. The guy put his hand forward and tried to defend himself. An explosion was heard near her. The fighter waved his arms in all directions and tried to defend himself from the shells flying at him. He shouted to his opponent that he couldn't just hit him. A guy in a soldier's uniform looked at his opponent and said quietly that the king was catching shells with his bare hands. The soldier looked forward and shouted angrily that he needed to stop. There was a very strong and powerful explosion. The guy turned back in fear. The warrior pierced his opponent on the edge of the hill with his sword. The main character thought that sometimes one might encounter a peerless immortal who pierces the heart without a single word. The main character closed his eyes. He realized that something had to change this time. The system informed the owner that the synchronization of the entire novel was completed. He had to try his best. Jiang stood near the entrance to the hotel. There were other guards nearby. Jiang looked carefully in front of him. He thought that the novel should get to the part where the main character kidnaps the bride. At that time, the car door opened and a girl got out. The guy extended his hand to the side and helped his girlfriend get out of the car. Xiao Churan got out of the car. She was the eldest daughter of the Xiao family. Zhang Beishuan stood next to her. He was the main character of a novel about a crazy marriage. Jiang walked with his girlfriend and looked carefully ahead. The main character looked in front of him and felt as if he was very strong. King told the girl to come through. He offered to help her with her bag. The main character remembered that he is the youngest son of the Lingu family named Khan. The guy was holding flowers in his hands. He told the girl in a joyful voice that he was happy and free and could fly. Xiao displeasedly answered her companion that he was sick. The main character turned to the side and noticed Zhang Beichuan, who was the Dragon King of Sand City next to him. Right now, Zhang's main role was to remain Xiao Churan's bodyguard. Tio said in an important voice that the bodyguard always turns out to be at the right time and place. The main character thought that Jiang in this novel is the unshakable core. Jiang felt that Jiang was an absolute leader with all the necessary qualities. The main character looked at the guy opposite him and realized that he didn't particularly like him. Xiao turned to her friend and asked him to help her with her bag. The main character looked after the leaving girl. He devoted himself wholeheartedly to her and used all resources to help the Xiao family. But only Jiang lived in the girl's heart. There were still 5 chapters left in the book. This might not be enough to change the relationship between Xiao and Jiang. This novel was aimed at men, where the main character can get all the women. The book is doomed to an unsuccessful ending. Need to wait for the next book? The main character thought to himself that he could be beaten to death. But he will endure it out loud. He told the girl that he wanted to tell her something. She froze and stopped. She decided to turn to the guy herself. The girl turned around and answered the main character that she also wanted to tell him something. The main character said that she can talk. He already guessed what the girl would tell him. She explained to the guy that she would never agree to this engagement. Xiu explained to her companion that she would not agree, even if his family offered something to her father. Jiang answered the girl in a calm voice that he would not agree either. The girl told the main character that she would not fall for someone like him. Xiao was suddenly very surprised. She looked at the guy opposite her with fear. Jiang told her that he wanted to call off the engagement. The girl was very surprised when she heard such words from the main character. Jiang looked at the guy angrily and asked what kind of intrigues he was plotting. Xiao asked her companion very dissatisfiedly, "What was he up to?" Xiao pointed her finger at the main character and said that she didn't believe him. The main character, with great excitement, motioned to his companions to stop. Jiang explained in a calm voice to the girl that he certainly wasn't up to anything. Xiao told the guy that she had already seen enough and he wouldn't be able to trick her. Jiang glanced at his girlfriend and thought displeasedly that she wanted to become part of Jiang's harem while he was here playing the role of a faithful dog. Jiang thought displeasedly to himself that he had become overwhelmed in his knowledge. He decided that the stupid girl would be slammed by the door when she left. Xiao looked around with great surprise. She didn't understand who told her this. Xiao looked around displeasedly. She didn't understand who could call her stupid. The main character told the dissatisfied woman not to think too much of herself. Jiang explained to the girl that they would tell the elders that they never wanted an engagement. Jiang looked at the main character very angrily and did not say anything to him. Jiang turned around and walked sharply to the side. The system informed the owner that he had an error in the data transfer interface. His thoughts can be transmitted to the characters of the book. The main character realized that he could not report an error in the system. Otherwise, it would have been formatted. The system informed the owner that it had corrected the error. Now only his complaints and curses will be heard. Jiang thought about it. He remembered that according to the content of the novel, he offended Jiang because he kidnapped his woman. All this led to a sad outcome. The main character happily decided that he would not get engaged to Xiao Churan, and therefore Jiang would not attack him. Jiang very happily said to himself that it would be no problem for him to survive 5 chapters. Main character went to the door. He told his companions that they had already arrived. Xiao told her friend not to go inside with her while he waited for her. Jiang looked after his girlfriend with great interest and excitement. Xiao couldn't forget what she heard from the main character. Jiang was surprised that the girl asked Jiang to wait for her outside. The main character turned around and noticed with surprise that Jiang did not look angry. The main character entered the room and turned to the old man. Grandfather was sitting on the sofa. Jiang pointed at the girl and told the old man that he had brought Mrs. Xiao with him. The old man greeted the guests. He told the guy that he could just call the girl Churan. Grandfather turned to the main character and told him to pour a drink for the Churan. Xiao mentally said that he could not afford to warm up to the #1 beauty of the entire city. He needed the girl to break off the engagement. He could finish this novel. Xiao turned to the side. She realized that she heard the voice of Linghu Khan. The girl thought that she could tolerate the guy's insult. She didn't understand why he decided that she was in the Baekxuan's harem. Jiang told his mistress that she had nothing to fear, even if 10 more people came to them now. The girl thought that Jiang was her bodyguard. He saved her once and she trusts him. The main character came up and brought the girl a glass of tea. Xiao couldn't understand what the harem had to do with it. She decided that someone was spreading rumors here. The old man looked to the side in surprise. He didn't understand why people were so reserved. Xiao jumped up from her chair. She shouted that she did not agree. The girl explained to her grandfather that she did not feel anything towards Linghu Khan. She wants to get engaged to the one she really loves. The main character raised his finger up and said that coercion will not lead to anything good. The engagement needs to be called off. Xiao turned to the side in surprise. She couldn't believe that the guy said all this seriously. A man approached the main character and said that he and the girl would definitely get married. Tio said that Miss Xiao is fully mature. Since childhood, he admired her maturity and prudence. The guy told the man that Churan refused to marry him. Xiao shouted in a frightened voice that he would definitely not marry the girl. Xiao didn't understand why the guy's character had changed so much. Yesterday, he wrote her an essay of 5,000 words. The man looked at the guy and asked if he wanted to stay on the Churan side without any formalities. Jiang extended his hand to the man and said that he really understood things from a business perspective. The man approached the girl and told her that this union must take place. The main character fell to his knees in front of the man and said that the marriage should be called off. Tio mentally demanded from the girl that she definitely refused to get married. Shu looked at the main character very thoughtfully and with interest. The girl sharply extended her hand to the main character and said that she understood everything. Xiao looked at the guy slyly and said that she understood where the talk was coming from, that she didn't want to get married. The girl looked at the guy very slyly and said that he had changed his mind. She let go of the guy's clothes and said that feelings can be created if they don't exist. The girl looked slyly at the man and said that she agreed to this marriage. The main character was very struck by the girl's words. He felt as if he had been struck by lightning. Jiang mentally told the girl that she was in the last stage of imbecility, out loud. He advised that Xiao should not force herself. The main character thought that he wanted to hit his girlfriend so that sparks would fall from her eyes. Out loud, he explained to her that all this was the will of her parents and matchmakers. Jiang put her hand on the guy's shoulder and asked, "Doesn't he like her anymore?" The main character replied that he certainly liked her. The main character looked angrily at the girl and thought that he would like to break her head. Xiao looked at her friend with interest and thought that he was very dramatic. The girl thought slyly to herself that the main character should obey her. She said to herself that for her, everything is inexplicably seductive. Jiang grabbed her hand and led her along. The main character led his girlfriend by the hand and said that they needed to talk. Tio said, without turning around, to his uncle and grandfather that they would leave for a while. The old man said with a smile to the young people that they could go. The man told the guy and the girl that they could communicate more in private. The main character quickly went into the next room. He asked the girl, "What was all this?" Jiang turned around and told his girlfriend that it was not too late to call off the engagement. Zhao asked her companion why she should refuse. The girl explained to the guy that this union was arranged by their families. She shouldn't refuse. Jiang recalled that she herself said that she only wanted to marry someone she would love. Jiang excitedly reminded the girl that she had always treated him with contempt. The girlfriend thought about it. She said she doesn't like anyone right now, but after the wedding, everything can change. The main character was scared. He mentally shouted to the girl that if she starts liking him, he will be finished. Jiang won't let him go. The girl couldn't understand why the main character kept remembering Zhang Beichuan. Xiu knew that her friend was the young master of one of the 4 great families. She herself did not understand why he was afraid of some bodyguard. The main character extended his hand into the wall next to the girl. He angrily asked her if she was refusing. Xiao replied that she would not refuse. She angrily asked the guy, "What will he do with all this?" The upset Chang was in the banquet hall. There were many guests there. The guy realized that he couldn't do anything about it. One man raised his glass of wine. He shouted that they needed to celebrate the young couple's engagement. The guests joyfully began to congratulate the guy and girl. Xiao and Qian stood on the stage. One girl told her friend that the union of the Lingyu and Xiao families was a scary union. Zhang stood and listened carefully. Someone said that there were rumors that the Xiao girl didn't like the Lingyu guy. The security guard stood aside with a glass in his hand. He looked at the girl angrily. The guy got angry. He squeezed his hand with all his might and the glass shattered into pieces. Jiang told the man in a very angry voice that he objected. Uncle Xiao looked questioningly at the guard and asked who he was. Jiang looked at the man slyly and told him to take a good look at him. Uncle Xiao looked at the guy with great interest. He kept remembering who was in front of him. People in the crowd whispered with interest. They wanted to know what kind of guy stood in front of Uncle Xiao. After a short pause, the man happily told the guy that he was his daughter's bodyguard. Uncle looked at the guy and asked, on what occasion did he decide to speak out? People around were surprised. They could not understand how the bodyguard could oppose the young mistress's engagement. The main character was unhappy. He realized that the guests around him were adding fuel to the fire. The man angrily told the guard that he was fired. He advised the guy to eat well, since then he would just clean his shoes. Jiang smiled evilly to himself. He told the man that he spoke out because of his daughter. The guard asked the man if he had really decided that his daughter's marriage depends on him. Xiu looked at her friend and realized that he was a very arrogant idiot. The man on stage angrily said that he had no desire to talk to the fired bodyguard. He demanded that someone take the guy out of here. Jiang looked around and noticed that 2 guards had approached him. The guy stretched his hands and said that 10 people should be sent against him. The man told the guy that everything would be as he wished. More guards appeared on the side. One of the fighters ran at high speed to attack Jiang. Jiang calmly looked at the running fighter and with all his strength threw him away with a powerful blow. The guy finished off one of the fighters with powerful blows. Guards stood around and watched. One of the guards told his colleague that they now need to attack the guy all together. The fighters ran sharply from all sides and rushed against Jiang. Jiang swung his arm and began to fight off the attacking fighters. The guy fought off the guards with circular blows and they flew to the side. The main character was scared. He realized that he could be the guard's next victim. Xiao clapped his hands happily and told Baekswan that he had a lot of strength. The main character explained to the guard in a calm voice, "What happened with the misunderstanding?" Jiang with a smile told the guy not to worry. He promised that Zhao Qiran would definitely not marry him. Jiang was silent. He looked ahead and did not answer anything for the main character. People in the crowd were talking to each other. They were surprised by the bodyguard's actions. The guy listened. He heard someone in the crowd say that Linghu was a rich and well-mannered man, but the bodyguard has neither. Ta stood next to the bodyguard. They looked carefully at the people in the crowd. Jiang became very angry. He said it was all really insidious. The main character was very surprised. He did not understand what was happening in this novel. Jiang thought to himself that people should sympathize with the protagonist and despise the villain. Jiang looked at the bodyguard with displeasure. He didn't understand why he didn't just grab the Zhao Qiran. The main character looked at Xiao from the side. He thought that the bodyguard was just standing there and being stupid. The girl sitting on the sofa thought that Linghu Han looked calm, but inside he is like a mad dog. The bodyguard said he didn't care about anyone else. As long as the girl is happy, he will not regret what he did. The bodyguard approached his mistress with a very slow step. Jiang bowed to the girl and said that he would not allow anyone to force her into marriage. Jiang looked from the side and thought that Zhang Beishuan was a real knight. The main character mentally asked Jiang to take Xiao for himself. The girl looked displeasedly at her bodyguard and said that he was annoying her. The main character was surprised. He could not understand why the girl had a dissatisfied face. Xiao looked to the side displeased. The bodyguard decided to approach her. The guy grabbed the girl's hand. He asked fearfully, "Is she really planning an escape?" Xiao looked in front of her with displeasure. She didn't like that Jiang was next to her. The girl angrily asked the guy why he decided that she wanted to go with him. 35 Xiao angrily turned to the main character and looked at him with displeasure. The bodyguard was very surprised when the girl turned around and walked away from him. Jiang clenched his hand into a fist with all his strength. He was unhappy that his girlfriend left him. Xiao decided that if she left with Jiang Beishin, she would become part of his harem. The girl looked at the guy and thought that she had guessed his thoughts. The bodyguard from the side called the girl by name very displeasedly. Jiang grabbed his girlfriend with his hand. He asked the girl, "Is she really afraid that Chang will hurt her or ruin her future?" The main character asked his opponent why he came so close to him. He decided that the bodyguard was going to beat him. Jiang looked at the main character and told him not to even think about laying a finger on the girl. Jiang fearfully explained to his companion that he had misunderstood everything. The girlfriend really told the main character to step aside. The guard stood with his back to the girl. He said that she doesn't want to see the main character, but she forces herself. Xiu angrily shouted to her friend that she would never go with him. The guy hugged the girl's hand. He said that the Linghu family would want to take revenge on him. Xiu was very surprised. She looked at the guy with great confusion. The girl decided that she was giving up. She couldn't understand Jiang's train of thought. The main character told her that silence was her sign of consent. She is really afraid of the Linghu family's revenge. Jiang told his friend that she was very gentle and attentive. He did not understand how she fell into the clutches of monsters. The bodyguard turned around angrily and looked at the main character with hatred. She thought to himself in fear that everything was happening exactly like the scene from the book. The main character looked at the girl with a fiery gaze. He mentally called her a despicable woman. Xiu looked at his frightened girlfriend. He thought angrily that she was playing so hard just to kill him. The girl looked dissatisfied at the angry Linghu Khan. She decided that he was completely crazy. A man approached from the side. He shouted to Jiang that he was now superfluous here. His son-in-law can only be Linghu Khan. The main character fearfully thought to himself that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Jiang looked very carefully at the man's back. He thought that he was using the same method of fooling people. The bodyguard angrily told his companion that he was allowing his daughter to marry a worthless man. He asked, "Is the man really the father of the girl?" Jiang turned around and told the girl that he didn't need anyone but her. Xiao explained that she didn't want to go anywhere. The girl got angry. She didn't understand why her bodyguard didn't understand simple words. Jiang said that she is very timid. He promised that he would return for her soon. The main character asked the guy in surprise, "Is he really leaving now?" The bodyguard turned around and told the guy that this was not the end. He promised that he would take Chen's life. Jiang pointed his hand at the people in the hall and said that they belittle others and elevate themselves. The bodyguard looked angrily at the people and said that they would all bow to him. Jiang was scared because the bodyguard was already leaving. He asked him to stay and think it over carefully. The main character ran up to his opponent and said that he must find a way to escape with Zhao Qiran. The bodyguard replied that he would keep his word and take his girlfriend. Jiang looked at the girl with excitement. He thought that if the bodyguard took the Xiao now, then he would not have to return later. The girl closed her eyes dissatisfied. She listened to the boys arguing with each other next to her. She looked at the guys she knew and thought that she was already tired of them. The girl loudly and angrily shouted at the guys to stop. The guys fell silent. At this time, Xiao stretched out her hand and grabbed the main character's clothes. The girl kissed the main character. A guard stood nearby and looked in surprise. Jiang was very frightened by his girlfriend's unexpected kiss. He didn't even have time to say anything. Xiao told the guard displeasedly to leave. She only likes Ling Hu Han. The guy got very angry. He didn't want to just let go of his girlfriend. Jiang realized that the girl was very confused. He didn't know how he could save her. Jiang looked at the main character angrily and said that he needs to bankrupt the Linggu company. The main character was scared when he heard such words from the bodyguard. The system congratulated the owner on completing the task. Xiao Churan will help him hold out for 5 chapters. The main character received a villa on the shore of a lake with an area of 600 square meters for completing the task. The main character fell to his knees. He thought happily that he had 9 zeros in his bank account and did not need a villa. The main character was lying on his bed in a new house and holding a glass in his hands. Jiang said to himself that the old man's birthday celebration was over. He had a couple of free days. Jiang closed his eyes joyfully. He didn't even know what he could say to the system. The system happily informed the owner that the second part of the plot begins today. According to the plot of the novel, Xiao and Linggu are forced to enter into a marriage alliance. Xiao invited the newlyweds to a banquet. The celebration was hosted by the CEO of Dihao Company named Tang Zhu. Yunzhu is Xiao Dazhuang's uncle. He is already old and sick. Many people want to win Tang Zhu's favor. Location also wants to get Ling Hu Han. The main character suggested a wonderful doctor for the old man. He brought it with him. Jiang created a real sensation at the banquet. He obtained a copy of the sacred healing scripture and was successful. The wonderful hands of Zhang Beishuan allowed Tang to witness a real medical miracle. The old man jumped to his feet from the wheelchair and said that he was healed. The main character was very disappointed. Because of this incident, Linghu Tang lost the biggest support of the Yue family. This led to his future end. The old man demanded from Dazhuang that he should not see his son-in-law again. Jiang and the old man were very frightened when they heard such words. The main character said in an angry voice that today is the most suitable day to attend the banquet. The main character told the system in a sad voice that Zhang Beishuan had already mastered the Holy Scriptures. This means he needs to prepare for a beating. The system told the owner not to forget about his mission. The main character will return and he must survive. At that time, the door suddenly opened and a stranger ran in. He called the Khan. The guest ran in and shouted to the main character that today, the old man had a banquet and he needed to move out. The main character said with excitement that Ho Qiang appeared in front of him. The system informed the owner that Ho Qiang is also known as the King of Provocations. The system warned the protagonist that if he was near the Hao, the risk of death increased by 50%. The main character looked at the guest and thought that he should get rid of him. Qiang put his hand on the guy's shoulder and said that he didn't need a bodyguard. Who will go to America to become a stock trader for their Linghu family? The guy headed towards the exit with his bags. He said that he didn't know anything at all. The main character told the guy to believe in himself and call him the best. He accompanied him near the plane. Hao flew away on the plane in surprise. He couldn't believe that he was the best. The main character on the ground raised his hand up and shouted to his friend that he was the best. Qiang happily told himself that he felt much calmer when he got rid of the Hu. The main character looked at his watch. He noticed that the banquet was about to begin. People approached the building and climbed the stairs. It was a family-run hotel. A car stopped and a guy got out. He headed towards the entrance to the building. Qiang straightened his tie. He decided to contact the girl by phone. The guy called and told the Chiren that he was already there. He decided to wait for his girlfriend. Qiao remembered that he was already engaged to a girl and could call her Chiran. The girl got out of the car. She asked the guy why he seemed familiar to her. The guest in evening dress slowly walked from the car straight to Qiang. The girl put her hand on the guy and said that she now remembered. The guest grabbed the guy by the tie and angrily told him that he was her ex. The guy looked at the red-haired stranger in surprise. He called her Mao Qiu. The guy looked at the girl with great surprise. At this time, the launch of plot memories began. At college, Mao Qiu was a classmate of Ling Guhan. They met often. The relationship between the guy and the girl was going very well, but in the end, the Khan and his girlfriend broke up due to a misunderstanding. Very soon, the Khan became friends with Xiao Churan. He immediately broke up with Mao Q Shui. Mao silently looked at the guy. She studied him carefully with her eyes. The girl angrily told the guy that he had already forgotten her and they had not seen each other for a long time. Ling Hu Han was very annoyed because he did not value his ex-girlfriend. The girl was surprised. She couldn't understand where the voice in her head came from. Mao looked around with interest. She decided that it was Ling Hu Khan who spoke. The girl turned to the side and was surprised to notice that the guy had disappeared somewhere. Mao was very angry. She didn't understand where the main character could hide. Khan. I approached the guy near the car and asked how much this car costs. The main character thought to himself that another main character had appeared. The girl thought that the guy was far from her now. She still heard a voice in her head very close. The main character asked the guy if he wanted to light a cigarette. Khan looked at the girl and thought that she had a good figure. But she still had not been sent to the main character's harem. Khan thought displeasedly to himself that first his beloved girlfriend and ex-girlfriend had been taken away from him. Mao angrily shouted to herself that she could hear everything well now. The girl approached the guy and asked in a stern voice what kind of nonsense he was saying. Khan looked at the girl in fear and explained that he had not said anything. Mao was very angry because Ling Hu was denying her. The girl reminded the guy that he was pursuing Xiao Churan. But now he makes her angry. The main character thought that there was no point in him begging Xiao for a divorce. Khan thought that he didn't like girls like Xiao Churan. He would have liked Mao better. The girl looked at the guy in surprise. She considered his words. Mao realized that the guy had no idea that she heard his voice. The Khan was silent. The girl thought about his words that he said that she was better than Xiao Churan. Mao sternly asked her companion why he was upset when she asked about Xiao Churan. The girl asked the main character, "Does he really want to marry Xiao?" Khan thoughtfully replied that marriage is a real trap. Mao, I asked the guy, why does he still remain a faithful dog for Xiao Churan? The main character thought angrily to himself that he was forced to be a faithful dog for Xiao. Khan thought to himself that because of Xiao Churan, Jiang's hatred level had already reached the sky. He would gladly send the girl somewhere far away. The girl laughed merrily. She was very amused by the words of the main character. Khan could not understand why the girl was laughing. He decided that she was sick. The girlfriend approached the guy and said that the misunderstanding was not his fault. Mao told the guy that she was very sorry because he was getting married soon. Khan became very interested. He wanted to go back to a good time. The guy hugged the girl with his arms. He thought that Mao was much better than Xiao Churan. At that time, the car stopped abruptly and a girl got out. The surprised girl heard the words of the main character that Mao is better than her. She looked very angrily at the guy as he stood next to the red-haired girl. Churan was very angry. She slowly called the main character's name. The girl looked at the main character and called him very angrily. Khan stood aside and talked with his girlfriend. He didn't even notice that Xiao had come up next to him. Xiao looked angrily at the guy next to the girl and decided that she would outsmart them. Churan ran up to the guy and joyfully shouted that she had been looking for him for a long time. The main character was surprised. Xiao fell silent for a while. She looked at the guy with great desire. The girl pressed herself close to the main character and called him her groom. Xiao put his hands on the guy's face. He looked at her in surprise. Xiao very unexpectedly hugged the main character and kissed him. Jiang was very surprised. He could not understand why such a change had happened to the girl. Mao calmly looked ahead. She realized that her opponent was using a trick. Mao looked at the frightened protagonist and told him that they would talk at the banquet. The girl waved her phone to the guy and said that her number had not changed. Mao calmly stepped aside. Xiao turned around and looked at the main character. The girlfriend, dissatisfied, stretched her hand to the side and grabbed the guy by the clothes. Xiao angrily told the guy that he was a married man, but was dating other women. Jiang explained to the girl that she was behaving badly and reminded her that there was no one around. The main character told the girl that she didn't really want to marry him. Xiao explained to the guy in an angry voice that he couldn't cancel the engagement in front of everyone. Khan sternly asked his girlfriend why she doesn't follow her true love. She said her opinion that her true love will be the one she names. The girl angrily tried to hit the main character with her hand. Jiang came up behind me. The guard looked at the girl and said that she looked sad. Xiao tensed up with all her might at this time. She was still arguing with her friend. The guard said to himself that the Khan had already got himself a Xiao, but he was still rushing between other women. Jiang clenched his hand into a fist. He realized that it was his duty to save the Churans. The guard angrily said that he wanted to trample the Khan into the dirt so that Churan would recognize his true face. The main character angrily told the girl not to bother him in public. Xiao told the guy that they were engaged and there was nothing special about it. Kan told the girl that she was angry and could not calm down. The main character suggested that the girl talk about the divorce later. Kan thought that Jiang Beishuan would definitely appear and come out when he and the girl quarreled. The guy looked at his girlfriend and decided that he should keep his distance from her. Kan sharply shouted to the girl that someone had called her and he wanted to leave. Xiao turned around and said in a dissatisfied voice that the guy hated her. At this time, a man approached. He greeted the guy. The main character was surprised when he saw his uncle and some old man next to him. The man looked at the main character and said that he had prepared a gift for his uncle. The man pointed his hand to the side and said that Dr. Shangguan was next to him. The old man adjusted his glasses on his head and greeted the main character with a smile. Xiao looked at the old man with great surprise. He seemed familiar to him. The man whispered to the protagonist that he could bring Dr. Shangguan to treat the tan. As a result, the Tang Xiao and Linghu families will become the strongest alliance in the country. The main character was very worried. He pointed a trembling finger at the old man and said that he needed to stop. Kan asked, "What is the doctor's name?" He said in fear that he might have misheard. According to the original plot of the novel, the doctor whose name the main character translated for a sick old man was named Shan Guan. Very soon the Khan brought the miracle doctor to Mr. Tan, but Jiang beat the doctor and accused him of quackery. The main character thought that he sent Ko away from him only so that he would not find the doctor's miracle for him. But the doctor suddenly appeared. Khan thought dissatisfied that the miracle doctor had finally appeared, and the plot, it turned out, was not so easy to change. The main character thought that even if some events were changed in the book, the main point would still remain the same. The man put his hand on the guy's shoulder and asked why he froze. He suggested taking the doctor with him. The main character told the man that his stomach hurt and he needed to go to the toilet. Khan ran to the side with all his might. He shouted to the doctor to wait for him. The guy went out onto the veranda of the banquet hall. He stood and held a glass of wine in his hands. Khan said slowly and thoughtfully to himself that everything had changed a lot. A girl came up from the side. She asked the guy, "What is he sighing about?" Mao stood next to the guy. She said that she noticed his concern for Xiao Churan. The girl extended her hand to the guy and said that he was not compatible with Xiao. The main character grabbed the girl's hand. He knew that she would be Jiang's lover in the future. Khan looked at the girl and demanded that she let him go. He explained that he already had a fiancée. The guy thought that in this novel you can't touch beautiful women. They are all in the harem of the main male character. Mao looked at the guy and told him that the engagement could be cancelled. The main character was very worried. He knew that the engagement could not be called off. He decided that this was some kind of test of willpower. Khan stood and tried to restrain himself. He didn't understand why he loved a girl with a thin waist. Mao was very surprised that the guy thought about her like that. The girl put her hands on the guy's shoulder and asked who he likes best. The main character turned aside and told her that he only liked his fiancée. Khan felt very strong excitement. He couldn't stand it any longer. The girl touched the guy's ear and explained that he still had not answered her question. The main character, in a frightened voice, demanded that the girl behave with dignity. Khan felt a very strong excitement in his body. He decided that he was no longer considered a man. Mao thought that the guy said one thing but thought something completely different. She laughed cheerfully. The main character looked at the girl in surprise. He was still very shy. The Khan looked to the side with excitement. He noticed that Jiang Beishuan was walking there. The main character pushed the girl away with his hands and said that even if he had been engaged for one day, she would have remained a simple passerby for him. Khan thought dissatisfied to himself that he pushed the girl away. He couldn't stand it any longer. The main character stood and thought that he was destined to take into account the scapegoat. He can look but not touch. Jiang stood nearby. Mao laughed very hard. She told the main character that he was very nice. The main character asked the girl displeasedly, "Doesn't she take him seriously?" Khan thought dissatisfied to himself that the heroine of the novel does not take anyone seriously except the main character. The main character looked angrily at the girl and asked why she was laughing at him. Mao laughed joyfully and told her friend that she remembered something funny. The guy decided that he needed to leave quickly. The main character turned around and told the girl that he was leaving. The girlfriend behind him looked after him in surprise. Khan opened the door to the room and prepared to go inside. The main character heard a noise. He looked aside at the girl. Mao was sitting on the floor with her leg twisted. She told the guy that she fell. The main character stood scared. He thought that the girl was able to fall but did not make a single movement. Khan looked at the girl with great attention. He couldn't believe that she was the heroine of a novel. The main character turned around and looked carefully into the hall where the guests were. Khan took a closer look and noticed that Jiang Beishuan was looking at him. Mao extended her hand to the guy. She said he still didn't help her up. The girl cunningly thought that she could make the guy fall in love with her. The main character told the girl that she was wearing high-heeled shoes and no one would judge her if she fell. The guy thought to himself that he had made a mistake. He could not offend Mao Q. The main character was afraid that the girl might get angry and complain to Jiang. Khan realized that he was screwed if Jiang Beishuan wanted to take revenge for the girl. The main character thought that he understood this clearly. He turned his back to his girlfriend. Mao said displeasedly to the guy that if he didn't help her, she would get angry, and the consequences would be serious. Khan turned to the girl very frightened and decided to quickly calm her down. The main character supported the girl and told her to be more careful. Mao pressed herself close to the guy. She thought that she would never allow Beishuan to become her lover. The main character asked the girl if she needed to call a doctor. Khan, accompanied by the girl, wanted to head towards the exit. He decided to help her walk. Mao looked at the guy with excitement and explained that she couldn't go. The girl slyly suggested to the guy that he take her in his arms. She recalled that he was already holding her waist. The main character was very worried. He could no longer restrain himself. Khan felt that the girl touched him. At this time, Jiang appeared from behind. Jiang abruptly walked up to the main character and put his hand on his shoulder. The main character was surprised. He turned around and noticed Beishuan behind him. Jiang went up to the girl and took her in his hand. He shouted to the main character that he was a non-entity. Mao turned to the guy and asked displeasedly, "Who is he?" Jiang pointed his finger at the main character and said that he tricked Xiao into getting engaged to him. He accused the main character of molesting innocent girls. Khan was very surprised. He could not understand who he could have just pestered. The guests at the banquet turned around and looked in surprise at the girl and the guys next to them. Mao from the balcony turned to the guests and told them to stop quarreling. Jiang pointed his hand at the guy and said in an angry voice that he was not quarreling with him, but was just judging him. Jiang angrily shouted to the main character that the girl must definitely find out about his action. A guy came up from behind and put his hands on the shoulders of two guests. The stranger angrily asked the guys what connects them with his younger sister. The guy Mao Xiaojun looked at Jiang angrily and questioningly. Khan looked with excitement at the guys opposite him and thought that he remembered. The main character thought and remembered that Jiang and Jun simply agreed. Mao's girl was the daughter of the eldest son of the family. The Jun guy was the son of the youngest son of the Mao family. According to the plot, they compete and try to help their fathers become the head of the family business. The guys Jiang and Jun have known each other for a very long time. When the struggle for inheritance began, they entered into a secret agreement. Jiang suggested that Jun convince Qiuwei's father to invest large sums in a dubious project called photovoltaics on Mars. Jiang told his companion that the project was doomed to fail. Before the guy has time to look back, all the uncle's property will pass to his father. At the same time, Baekshun had his own motives. When Qiuwei's father's investment failed, Jiang gave him a helping hand. He earned his daughter's sympathy. As a result, Mao became one of his mistresses. Khan thought deeply. He realized that both guys really were bastards. Mao was very scared. She didn't expect Jun to appear here. Jun carefully supported the girl. He asked his sister how she was feeling. Mao was very worried. She looked at her brother with fear and suspicion. The girl looked at the guy and realized that it was all his fault. She remembered that her father had mentioned the Mars photovoltaic project. He put a lot of money into it. Mao stood unsteadily on her feet. Her brother supported her so that she did not fall. Mao grabbed the guy with her hand. She said that she was dizzy and wanted to sit down. The girl was holding a glass of wine in her hands. She didn't understand how the main character could find out about all this. Mao sat down on the chair. She decided that Linghu Khan had decided to take care of her secretly. The girl became worried. She decided that the guy had not forgotten about her. All this seemed like true love to her. Jiang came close to the main character and grabbed his hand with his hand. Jiang angrily demanded that the Khan leave. He accused him of mocking Mrs. Mao. Mao turned to the guy with excitement and shouted for him to wait. The girl shouted to the guard to let the main character go. She said that Khan is a real gentleman. Mao looked at the bodyguard and said that he was asking people and did not know the truth. Jiang looked at the girl very angrily. He didn't tell her anything. The main character fearfully realized to himself that he was hated again. Mao turned to the guy and said that her leg hurt. She asked for him to take her away. The main character looked at the girl in fear. He wanted her to find someone else for herself. Mao told the guy that if he dared to refuse, she would scream that he was molesting her. The girl looked slyly at her friend. Khan told her in a dissatisfied voice that she was very heartless. Mao got ready to leave. She told her brother that she would consider him after she found out the truth. Jun was very surprised. He didn't understand what the girl had just told him. In the living room, the main character put his hand on the girl's shoulder and told her to sit down. Mao sat down on the chair. The main character stood next to her on one knee. The guy thought that as soon as he left here, he would immediately run away. The girl looked slyly at the guy. She realized that she would not give them the opportunity to escape. Mao stretched her legs forward and asked the surprised guy to massage them. The girl lifted her clothes up for convenience. Khan thought that if he touched Mao, Jiang would hate him to death. Mao moved closer to the guy. She said it was all just a massage. The girl slyly threatened the guy that if he refused, she would start screaming. Mao began to show the countdown with her hands. She showed 3 fingers. The girl continued to count backwards. She showed the guy 2 fingers. Mao showed 1 finger and said that we need to call the others. Khan answered her that he completely agreed. Khan put his hand on Mao's leg and told the girl that it was time to start. The main character continued to gently stroke the girl's leg. He took off her shoes. He asked his girlfriend if she was in too much pain. Mao answered him that he needed to massage it a little more. Khan began to stroke the girl's leg. She shouted to him that this was too much. The main character took the girl's leg with his hands. He asked, "Do I need to massage from the inside?" The girl, very scared, shouted to the guy that he couldn't send her there. Mao screamed in fear. The guy asked her if he was doing it fast enough. The girl excitedly told the guy that he had done her a very nice job. She added that Khan is very good at massage. Jiang was standing on the street. He lit a match from the box and handed it to the guy. Jiang told his companion that his sister was not paying attention to him. He asked what he should do. Jun looked at my companion and took a drag from his cigarette. He asked if he really liked his sister that much. Jun put his hand on his companion's shoulder and said that Mao respects strength and loves powerful men. Jiang asked his companion if Mao and the main character knew each other. The guy said that at the moment Ling Hu Khan is already engaged. He met a girl and remembered the past. Jun turned around and told his companion not to worry. He said he needed to go to the restroom. Jiang remained by himself under the lantern near the bench. He silently looked after the departing guy. Jiang looked angrily in front of him and thought that all the women around the main character would end up in his hands. A man approached from the side. After a pause, he greeted Jiang. The man looked at the guy in surprise and said that he was his uncle's wonderful doctor. He asked the Tan to introduce him to his uncle later. Jiang replied to his companion that they were one family. Jiang happily turned to the side. He thought that the time had come to subjugate the Xiaomao and Tang families at the same time. The guests in the hall began to fuss a lot. Someone shouted that Grandpa had fainted. People gathered in Mr. Tan's room at night. The frightened guy shouted to his grandfather to wake up. The man looked at the old man and said that his relative's condition left much to be desired. He asked Dr. Shang Guan if he knew what to do. The doctor looked at the patient with surprised interest. He said he knew what to do. Shang Guan thoughtfully said that he would first feel the old man's pulse. Chang thought displeasedly that the doctor was a charlatan. As a result, Lin Hu Han will not live long. The guy ran up to his grandfather in fear and shouted that the old man had woken up. The guy said that he had consulted many doctors about his father's illness, but everything did not bring results. A very worried guy asked friends and relatives for help. He said that the Tang family would not forget their kindness. Jun turned to his friend and asked him to figure it out and help the head of the Tan family. Chang thought that the guy next to him was an idiot. He decided that it would not be amiss for him to have such a debtor. Jiang looked ahead thoughtfully. He decided that he could once again allow his favor to be used. Bei Shun said out loud that he had not checked the patient's pulse and could not be completely sure. He added that the chance of success is at least 50%. Jun was very happy. He looked at his companion and said that he was not mistaken about him. Jun put his hand on his friend's shoulder. He said that if he cured a patient, he should not forget to mention him. After that, the guy decided not to waste time. He pulled Jiang's hand behind him. Bei Shun suddenly stopped his companion. The guy didn't understand what Jiang wanted from him. Jiang explained to his companion that they did not need to rush to act first. They can wait for the right moment. Jun turned around and looked at the old man. He asked, "Was it really the Xiao family who brought the skilled doctor here?" Jiang shouted with hope in his voice that Shangguan is a popular doctor. He could have healed grandfather. Jiang calmly explained to his companion that the famous doctor would not be able to cure Tan's grandfather, but the two of them can do it together. Therefore, those around them will look at them with respect. Jun thought about it. He told his companion that there was a grain of intelligence in his words. Jun very happily shouted to his companion that he had thought of everything. The guest grabbed Shangguan's hand. He said there was a wonderful doctor here. Jiang kept his hand on the old man's shoulder. He said that this miracle doctor was recommended to them by the Xiao family. The guy looked joyfully at his companions. He told them in a satisfied voice that he relied on them. The doctor said in a joyful voice that he would now examine the patient. A man came up from the side and coughed quietly. He decided to get the doctor's attention. A man approached from the side. He silently looked at the doctor and pointed his finger to the side at the main character. Khan became worried. He prepared to run away and did not understand why people around him were talking about him. The man walked up to his grandfather and put his palm on top of his hand. He told him not to worry. The man told the patient that Shan Guang is the reincarnation of the great ancient physician named Hua Tuo. The main character was scared. He didn't want his older brother to be so confident. Shan Guang put his hand on the patient's hand and began to check his pulse. The doctor said in a reasonable voice that this disease can be cured. The guy was very happy. Shan Guang said that he could cure this ailment with the Wang family's imperial heavenly silkworm needle. Jiang thought to himself that the doctor's treatment method compared to his divine needle of black smallpox is sheer stupidity. Shan Guang confidently grabbed some paper with inscriptions and threw it aside. The doctor looked at the lying patient. He asked young Master Linghu to come to him. The main character was very surprised that he was called. A surprised girl stood next to him. The doctor asked the guy to help him. Khan answered in a frightened voice that he had not studied medicine. The main character got angry. He didn't understand why the doctor wanted to drag him into this adventure. Shang Guan adjusted his glasses and said that young Master Linghu is very modest. The doctor turned around and said to the guy, "Is he still planning to hide this from everyone else?" Shang Guan said that young Master Linghu has an innate talent for healing. The doctor smiled joyfully. The main character noticed with displeasure that Shang Guan's eyes were darting. Shang Guan turned to the side and told the guy to disinfect and give him the needle. The doctor extended the needle towards the patient. He said that headaches occur when there is injury to the neck and back. The further away the acupuncture points are located, the better it will be. You need to select the right yin energy points through the temporal cavity. It will be possible to reduce the temperature and restore the flow of yang energy. Shan Guan stood next to the patient and told him which points they would use next. Jiang listened silently to the side. The main character was silent. He said nothing in response to the doctor's words. Jiang suddenly told the doctor that he had said the correct sequence, but he lacks skill and knowledge. Bei Shun angrily told the doctor that he couldn't even look at him. Shangguan pointed his hand at the guy and asked sternly, "Who does he think he is?" The doctor turned around and asked Mr. Tan to throw this rude person out of the room. The man waved his hand to the side. He motioned for Shangguan to be taken out of the room. Jiang told Mr. Tan sternly that he was the only one in this place who could save grandfather. If they drive him away, the old man will lose hope of recovery. The doctor angrily told the guy that he personally was grandfather Tanya's only hope. The main character returned to the side with excitement. He decided that the conflict was beginning. Xiao thought to herself excitedly that it was time to make a bet. Mao looked at the girl with excitement. She didn't understand what kind of bet she should make. The doctor pointed his finger at the guy and said that he could argue with him. Jiang replied that he agreed. The doctor looked at the guy in front of him with great excitement. Shangguan told the guy that he should know the acupuncture technique that he was currently using. All that's left to do for recovery is just one needle injection. The doctor demanded that the guy kneel before him if he would cure the patient. Suddenly, the doctor remembered something else and sharply pointed to the side with his hand. Shangguan pointed strictly to the side with his hand and demanded that Jiang bow to the young master Linghu. Jiang looked angrily at the doctor and said what to do if he didn't succeed. The main character stood to the side and listened carefully to everything. He called the doctor in fear. Khan fearfully extended his hand to the side. He wanted to stop the doctor. Jiang angrily told the doctor that he and the Khan would have to lie at his feet. The main character fearfully thought that he was a loser. According to the script, Dr. Shan must lose. Khan knew that the details of the bloodletting were known only to Zhang Beixuan. The doctor didn't know about this. The main character thought that the doctor's lack of knowledge only played into Zhang's hands. The main character, with tears in his eyes, thought that he would have to kneel before his opponent. Both girls were deep in thought. They discussed bloodletting at the Dazui point. The girl thought sternly to herself that she would not let Jiang Beichuan have his way. The doctor carefully extended the needle to the patient's head. He said that he was taking the last injection. Patient 2 came to his senses. He looked ahead with a weakening gaze. The guy was very happy. He shouted that grandfather was able to get to his feet. The old man looked at the doctor and said that he was a master of his craft. His headache subsided and his chest no longer burned. The girl happily told the guy that the doctor was very wonderful. The main character listened to everything attentively. Khan remembered that the book reported that Tanya's grandfather vomited blood. After this, Jiang had the opportunity to prove himself. The old man suddenly felt very bad. He frantically brought his hand to his mouth. Grandfather started vomiting blood. The guy asked him with fear, "What happened?" Jiang looked cheerfully at the people opposite him and reminded him that no one believed him. Beichuan pointed at the frightened doctor and said that he was just a charlatan. The guy scaredly asked Jiang to quickly help his father. Beichuan told the people strictly that they paid such a price because they took the word of the deceiver. Jiang pointed to the main character and said that they trusted the scoundrels. Beichuan stepped forward sharply and said that he had changed his mind. He no longer wanted the guy and the doctor to kneel in front of him. Jiang pointed his finger down and demanded that the Khan and the doctor lick his shoes until they were shiny. The two girls were very surprised when they heard such words. Mao shouted to her friend to stop. The girlfriends stood nearby and held each other's hands. They were silent. Jiang was very unhappy that the main character was communicating with his ex-girlfriend. At this time, Xiao was looking at him from the side. Beichuan turned to the girl and said that the main character does not deserve this. Jiang pointed his hand towards the girl and told the main character that it was because of her that he told him to lick his shoes. He added that the Khan was constantly rushing between two beautiful girls. Someone had to put him in his place. Mao turned around and told Jiang in a dissatisfied voice that she didn't need him. Beichuan was very surprised. He didn't expect to hear such words from her. Xiaowai asked the main character what technique they used when the doctor cured another patient who looked like Tanya's grandfather. Sai shouted joyfully that a technique called bloodletting at the Dazui point was used. The girl thought that the main character knew everything but was silent. She shouted out loud that she saw that Mr. Xiangguan cured the patient. The girl came up and told the companions that bloodletting at the Dazui point was the secret final technique. The doctor thought to himself that he could use such a technique now. Xiangguan told the old man and the guy that vomiting blood is a normal reaction. After he does the bloodletting, everything will be fine. Jiang thought to himself with excitement that the people around him understood all this themselves. The guy asked the doctor if everything would be okay. Xiangguan held the test tube. He replied that of course everything would be fine. Suddenly the patient's eyes lit up brightly. He felt a great surge of strength. The old man seemed to be beaming. He shouted that he is young again. All his senses were heightened. The body was filled with energy. Grandfather ran to the doctor and said that the Tang family would be forever grateful to him. Jiang was very unhappy. He did not understand how the doctor could find out about his secret technique. The doctor turned to the guy very angrily and reminded him that the loser had to kneel. Xiangguan pushed the guy in the back with his hand and demanded that he keep his word and kneel before the young master Linghu. Jiang was very scared and worried when he heard the demand from the doctor. Beichuan angrily asked the people why they believed the charlatan doctor. Xiangguan pointed sternly with his hand to the side and reminded that he had just cured Grandfather Tan. He didn't like that the guy accused him of cheating. Jiang fell silent in fear. The main character turned around and looked carefully at the doctor. Khan thought dissatisfied to himself that all the problems fell on him. He wanted to be left alone. People around were talking. Someone said that the doctor told the truth. Jiang reminded himself that he had true knowledge of the divine black pox needle. He could not bow down to the doctor. Jiang became very agitated and angry. He clenched his hand into a fist with all his might. Beichuan looked to the side angrily. He decided that he needed to show off his skills. Then people around will understand that he is a real master. Jiang looked to the side and noticed the girl. He decided not to miss the chance to show off in front of her. Beichuan cupped his hands together. He decided to activate his magical abilities. Jiang held both hands cupped. A magical glow appeared around him. People around were surprised. One of the guys said that he sees some kind of magic trick. The man said judiciously that Jiang is using the skill of the divine black pox needle. He didn't expect that he would ever be able to look at it. The main character looked carefully in front of him. Someone next to him said that Beichuan could control the black pox divine needle accurately and accurately. Khan glanced at the guy next to him. He realized that Jiang was using a distraction maneuver because he did not want to kneel. The main character glanced sideways at the girls. He decided that Baeksuan wanted to charm them. Khan did not understand why the girls were looking at him. They had to look at Jiang. The guy took a closer look and saw that Mao turned around very angrily and looked to the side. Khan also saw that Xiao was also looking in front of her with a very dissatisfied look. Mao suddenly rushed to the guy and put her hand on his face. She told him in a sly voice that he could do it openly. Xiao was very angry. She looked displeasedly at the girl in front of her and said that this was impudence. Jun appeared on the side. He said in an exemplary voice that Zhang's words might seem rude, but Dr. Shang Guan is older than the guy and will not be angry with him. The doctor turned around and told Jiang that he must make sure that the arrogant young man did not disgrace his dignity. The guy smiled joyfully at the doctor and said that he had an excellent sense of humor. Jun told the doctor and the guy not to quarrel. He reminded them that they had gathered here for the sake of Grandfather Tan's recovery. They all had the same goal. From the side, the old man suddenly approached and addressed everyone present. Grandfather smiled at his guests and said that he wanted to thank them. The main character looked in front of him and thought that Jun deserved to be Jiang's first henchman. Jiang looked to the side. He thought that if he lost today, the main character would break his legs. After some thought, Baeksuan exhaled in a relaxed manner. Guy approached the girl and asked with excitement if she was angry. He reminded her that his words were loud, but it was all due to excitement. Xiao turned to the side with displeasure when she heard such words. The girl looked angrily at the guy and said that she didn't need excuses. Jiang was very surprised. He didn't even know what to answer her. The guy grabbed the girl by the shoulders. He told her that with his abilities he would make her the richest and most respected woman in China. The main character listened very carefully. He wanted to hear what Jiang was talking about. Jiang looked seriously at the girl and said that he tried for her sake. He promised to give her a better future. Xiao was very surprised when she heard from the guy that he tried for her sake. Jiang explained with excitement that he could cure Grandpa Tan with just 3 needles. The main character carefully followed his opponent's conversation. He realized that there are girls who take fiery speeches seriously and lose the ability to think sensibly. Xiao thought about it. She realized that all the words Jiang said on her side turned out to be false. The girl thought in fright that if it weren't for the main character, she would really believe it. Jiang extended his hand to his girlfriend. Xiao couldn't believe that the stranger would actually forgive the guy. The main character thought with excitement that he was just engaged to Zhio. He had no intention of marrying her. Khan looked at the girl with great attention and remembered that this was his bride. The guy extended his hand to the girl and asked with excitement, what was wrong with her? She sternly reminded her companion that she had not forgotten that he must kneel down and lick the winner's shoes.